welcome to Pilates Fundamentals. This class is a fantastic place to start if you've never done Pilates before, or if it's been a really long time since you've done one. This is more of an introduction to principles and the movements. We will only cover 5 main movements today, but we'll be more focusing on principles to get them imprinted into your head so we can then work a little bit further and build on that knowledge that we are going to give you today. So all you need is some sort of mat to work on. Some might argue that even that is not necessary. You can probably quite do it on the carpet. Wouldn't suggest hard flooring, you need some sort of cushioning. Okay, so Pilates is a discipline that's been developed to help people move better, improve mobility, improve posture, and strengthen the tiny little stabilizing muscles that are hidden deep inside the body that most people forget how to use. So here we go, let's get started. So we'll start just simply by standing either on your mat or on a hard floor, on the carpet, whatever you've got to work with. I'd say start with your feet together, and then you'll open up your toes into that V shape and then bring the heels out as well. So your feet are parallel, both pointed forward, and they're about hips width apart. So we've got that nice alignment from your feet into your knees and up onto your hips. So first thing I'd like you to do is stand nice and tall, pulling that navel in a little bit, breathing through the chest, and just feel where your body weight is on your feet. Feel free to close your eyes and move the body weight forward onto your toes and then back onto your heels. Do it again, take it forward on your toes or just ball of your feet and then back again. Just do it a few more times and just try to realize how your body is reacting to these subtle changes. You will notice the front of your body engaging as you take the body weight forwards, and then the back muscles kicking in as you take it backwards. See if you can find the middle position between these two extremes where the body weight is equally spread throughout the length of your feet, and the front and the back of the body are engaged about the same. Once you find that position, stay here, open up your eyes, soften your knees. So you don't want these muscles here in your thighs to be really strong here. So we're not bending, we're not squatting, we're just softening the knees just to slightly relax those front thighs. Now we are going to find the right position, the working position for your pelvis. So I'll go sideways so you can see. The easiest way to describe this, if you go with your pelvis from one extreme to the other, we'll go into the sad dog position. Imagine taking the tail between the legs, and then the happy dog position, wagging the tail. So going from one extreme to the other, it's always nice to do this at the beginning of the workout, because this is when your body will tell you how it's feeling. This is when your spine will tell you how it is, how much movement do we have in there. So doing that a few times is quite nice to mobilize the bottom of your spine. And then see if you can find a middle position somewhere between these two extremes, where you will only have nice gentle arch in your lower back and your lumbar spine. And once you find that position, we'll stay here. Now, to make sure that this position of your pelvis and therefore your spine doesn't change, we need to engage these muscles inside to keep your spine in that nice working shape. So imagine pulling that navel in towards that spine. If you've now done it really hard, can you breathe? We need to be able to breathe. So if you pull really hard, just release about half of that, and then tiny bit more and hold it there. So we want about 30% contraction in those core muscles. Imagine like a belt around your waist that you want to tighten, but not full on, because we need to breathe. So just a slightly tightened. can also think about your pelvic floor. The way to think about it is imagine that you want to bring your tailbone and your pubic bone closer together. And now imagine you want to take your two hip bones closer together. So trying to do that movement, that contraction, that's contracting your pelvic floor muscles, those muscles that contract when you need to stop yourself from going to the toilet. So you can either think about tightening that pelvic floor or think about pulling that navel in. So belt or connecting the 4 points of your pelvis. You can't do one without the other. So if you only think about the belt, the pelvis will engage as well. If you only think about that pelvis, these muscles will engage as well. They only work together. So once you've got that, we're gonna think about the breath now. So let's think about your rib cage. Let's put your hands together with the middle fingers just touching and put those hands on your rib cage. Relaxing those shoulders, standing tall, keeping that engagement in your core, thinking about tightening that belt or lifting the pelvic floor. Take a deep breath in into the rib cage, trying to make those hands go slightly apart. And as you breathe out, they will touch again. So you are breathing into your rib cage. We call this lateral or thoracic breathing. So we're not changing the shape of your stomach, we are expanding your rib cage. Try not to lose your neck, so keep those shoulders relaxed down. And breathe into the rib cage. Take a couple more deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Relax the arms by your sides. Next time you breathe and roll those shoulders back, breathe out, push them down. And again, in and out. One more. Let's keep the shoulders down. Continue to breathe through the chest. I'd like you to think about your shoulder blades. We used to say in Pilates that bring your shoulder blades together, but then what people would do is bringing the shoulder blades together. This is not in any way neutral or nice working position. So instead of bringing the shoulder blades together, try and think about easing those shoulder blades down your back. So you're trying to get the shoulder blades into that nice soft V shape, trying to ease them down your back. So the shoulders travel away from your ears. You're trying to lengthen your spine, trying to grow through the crown of your head as tall as you can be. So once we've got there, we've got this anatomically correct position that we can work from, where the feet about hips width apart, both pointed forward, body weight equally spread throughout the length of your feet, knees are soft, pelvis in that middle position, in that working position with that just a small natural arch in your lower back, engaging the center, the core, through connecting the 4 points in your pelvis, or thinking about tightening the belt around your waist. Breathing into the rib cage with the shoulder blades eased down your back. Shoulders are down, neck is nice and long, and we are growing through the crown of your head. Fantastic. Once you're here, as you breathe and take the arms up to about shoulder level, and as you breathe out, take them down. Let's do it again. Continue at your own time, work with your breath. Now what I'd like to observe here is what your shoulders want to do. Usually when we lift the arms, the shoulders want to come up too. Don't let them, keep them down. Keep those shoulder blades pushed down your back. And another thing that your body might want to do it might want to tilt your rib cage. So as you lift your arms, the rib cage might want to tilt, arching your back and sticking the ribs here out in the front. So once again, we want the rib cage to stay directly. You keep going, keep doing those lifts with the breath. Keep the rib cage directly over the pelvis in an alignment. So think about when the arms go up, we don't want the ribs to stick out in the front. We want to keep them nicely tucked in and shoulders down. Once you are happy with those two things, the position of your shoulders and the rib cage, you can take those arms a little bit higher. Doing that, you might find that your shoulders are working really hard. It would be very easy or easier just to take the arms up. But engaging the back muscles, keeping the shoulders down, shoulder blades push down your back, is working all the area of your shoulder girdle and the upper back. We'll add balance. How high you take your arms is completely up to you. If you're happy to stay in the shoulder level, you can do. If you think you can take your arms all the way up without tilting your rib cage, go for it. Now when we come up with an in-breath, we come up onto the tiptoes, and as you breathe out, you come back down. So in and back out. If it feels more natural for you to change the breath around, if you want to breathe out, coming up, and breathe in, coming down, you can do that. There is no wrong breathing, keep going. There's no wrong breathing in Pilates. The only wrong breath is no breath. As long as you keep breathing, that's all that matters. So if you actually do the out breath on the way up, out breath is a protective breath. So if you're really struggling to maintain the position of the rib cage, by doing the out breath, you might find it easy to keep the rib cage in the position and therefore the spine in that nice neutral shape. So you can out breath coming up and in breath coming down. Whatever suits you better, you choose your breathing pattern. Now observe your feet as well. As you come up onto your tiptoes, just think about what your ankles want to do. Try to keep them straight in line with your feet. You don't want them to come out or go in. So you want to keep those heels and your toes kind of one behind another. Let's just do two more. And one more. And relax. Well done. Roll those shoulders. So your shoulders should feel nice and warm. And maybe your lower legs as well. A little bit of mobility now. So keep your feet in that nice stand about hips width apart. Reset your posture again. Think about your feet. Think about your knees, pelvis, core, breath, shoulders, neck, head. Breathe in first. As you breathe out, slide one hand down the side of your thigh. As you breathe in, come back up. And as you breathe out, do the same for the other side. A little bit of lateral flexion or side bending. So mobilizing your spine, finding the range of movement in the side movement. As you do the side bends, again, be careful that you don't lose the tension, the contraction that's going on in your core. Because if you release any sort of contraction in the middle, what happens is we might lose that nice shape of the spine that we want to work with. It might start arching too much. And then if we introduce the bend with an exaggerated arch in your lower back, we could actually cause more harm than good. So Keep pulling that navel in. Breathe into the rib cage, keeping the tension. As you breathe out, take it sideways. So stretching the side of your waist and mobilizing the spine. Imagine there's a glass wall in front of you and another one behind you. So you cannot lean forward or backwards. You cannot twist. The only possible movement is sideways. When we're ready for that, we are going to make that stretch a little bit bigger. So as you bend, you take one arm over. Again, try not to bring it in front of your face. Really try to keep it up above your head. Breathe out. Breathing in into the center and breathing out to the side. And in and out. And again. Think about centering. Think about that strong powerhouse in the middle that's keeping your spine in that nice position that we set up. Of course, we're allowing you to bend sideways, but we're not allowing for any further bends backwards or forwards. Just do one more on each side. And relax. Roll the shoulders back. Push down. Good. We're gonna go with a forward flexion now. So I'll turn sideways so you can see. So what we'll do now is we are going to start rolling the spine down. We're going to roll it forward. But to get as much length in your lower back, I'd like you to aid this movement with a pelvic tilt. So before we were finding that neutral middle position, now when we go down, we take the pelvis into that extreme of that sad dog position, lifting the pubic bone and pushing down the tailbone. So we're starting in the neutral, in that nice middle position, standing tall. Breathe in. Every time you breathe in, you grow through the top of your head. And as you breathe out, you tuck your chin in, look down, start rolling your spine from the top. At the same time, tilt that pelvis into the sad dog position and continue the movement, bringing the upper body forward, rounding the spine, coming down with your knees soft, one vertebra at a time. When you come to the point of tension, you take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, you rebuild the spine again. So keep tilting that pelvis into the sad dog position. The head stays relaxed till you come up, and then you roll the shoulders, breathe in and grow through the top of your head. And again, as you breathe out, you tuck your chin in, tilt that pelvis and roll back down. So go all the way. Feel free to take extra breath for these few repetitions when we're learning. Breathe in at the bottom, and as you breathe out, slowly rebuild the spine again. Breathe in, grow through the top of your head. We're going to try to make it a little bit more fluent. We are going to get down in the 1 out breath. Then take a breath in at the bottom and come back up in 1 out breath. So again, it also helps us to work with the breath. So we're trying to extend that breath to make it last a little bit longer, so we've got time to finish the movement. Breathe in and out. Pelvic tilt coming down all the way, point of tension. Breathe in. Breathe out, coming back up. Tilting the pelvis, rebuilding the spine, coming up. Breathe in, grow. Breathe out, tilt. Breathe in, rebuild the spine. Breathe in on the top. Breathe out, coming down. Breathe in at a point of tension and out. Let's do one more. In and breathe out. Coming back up. Breathe in, stand tall. Continue a breathing pattern. Well done. We'll do a little bit of twisting. Today we're going to do a little bit more dynamic twists to make it a little bit easier for the first sessions. Later on we'll move on to more controlled twisting. So from here, just relax those arms, just keeping the tension in your core. So we always want to engage the center. Centering is one of the most important principles in Pilates. If there's no centering, there's no balance, there's no local strength in the other areas. So relaxing the shoulders, standing tall. Imagine your head is like in a helmet that's fixed in the space. It can't move. You can twist it, but you can't move it sideways or forward. So head has to stay in the same space, but it can only turn. We breathe in. As you breathe out, you twist the whole body, including the hips, taking the heel off the floor. The head doesn't go forward. It stays where it is. It just turns. Breathing into the center. Breathe out. Other side. We're going to make it a bit faster. In, out, in, out. Keep the center. Stand tall. Couple more. One more. And relax. Bring the feet back again, closer, about hips width apart. Well done. Breathe in, roll. Breathe out, take it down. Fantastic. From here, we are going to get to our first big movement, which is Pilates push-ups. So have a look first at the demonstration, and then you are going to have a go yourself. For this exercise, you need to stand at the end of your mat, having the length of the mat in front of you. The movement is a nice big movement, combination of a roll down, then the push-up itself. The push-up in Pilates is not a chest exercise. The push-up in Pilates is a shoulder stability exercise, and of course, core stability goes with it as well. So have a look what we do. So we start the movement in that nice alignment of your feet on the floor, standing up. We start off with a roll down that we've already done today. So you breathe in first. As you breathe out, you roll down. Don't forget that pelvic tilt. Coming down all the way to the point of tension. If you can't get any further, you can bend your knees to get your hands down. Walk your hands forward. We get into the box position. So now, when we are in the box position, we can take the hands a little bit wider, as wide as the mat is, if you've got a mat. So from here, the knees are directly under the pelvis, so under the hips, sorry. So we don't want the knees close together. We don't want them too wide. So we want those knees about hips width apart. But the hands can go a little bit wider, pushing the shoulders away from your ears, shoulder blades down the back. Now be careful that we're not arching the back or rounding the back. So we need to again find that nice middle position that we are going to fix by pulling that navel in towards the spine. Now without changing the shape of the back and without taking the elbows out, we are going to breathe in. As we breathe out, we take the upper body forward. Elbows stay where they are. We go forward. You can feel the shoulders doing a lot of work. And then as you breathe out, you come back again. And then slowly walk your hands in and rebuild the spine. Coming back up. So roll down, sit up, one, push down and up, and roll back up again. That's your one repetition. We are going to try for about 5. Let's do it together. Breathe in when you're ready. Stand tall. As you breathe out, start the roll down. Remember the pelvis tilting in the sad dog position, coming down to the point of tension. Bend the knees, bringing the hands down on all fours. Check the position of your knees. They are right under your hips. Hands are sort of leveled with shoulders, but just a little bit wider. Shoulders away from your ears, shoulder blades push down your back. Check that you're not arching your back. Pull that navel in, tighten the center. Now, without changing the shape of your back, we are going to breathe in, bringing the upper body forward, bending the elbows. Doesn't have to be far. Breathe out, come back. You can feel the shoulders working. Slowly walk your hands in, and then rebuild the spine coming up. Let's do about 4 more at your own time. So I'm gonna go with the flow. You continue at your own time. So I'm gonna again try to talk you through it, but if you wanna go faster, you can do. Roll down first. Hands forward. Set up for the good stable position in your shoulders and your core. Breathe in first, coming down. Breathing out, coming back again. So the important part there, when you do the movement of the actual push-up on the floor, you try not to change the shape in your spine. Hands a little bit wider for good stable position. So what you want to avoid coming forward is arching, sticking your bum out. Keep pulling that navel in. The shape in the spine doesn't change. Breathe in forward, breathe out, back. Let's do 1 more when you're ready. Breathe out, rolling down. And just breathe as you need to whilst you're doing this setup. Even if it takes longer, if you do 1 repetition less than myself, it doesn't matter. Today it's really important to get this right. It doesn't matter whether you do 4 or 5 repetitions. So again, push those shoulders away, lengthen your neck. Again, be careful that the head doesn't drop or doesn't go up. So we want that nice alignment in the spine. Pulling navel in. Breathe in, coming forward. Elbows, you want to kind of leave the elbows where they are. So as you bring the upper body forward, the elbows kind of feel that they're staying behind. And as you breathe out, you push back. And then rebuild. Coming back up. Well done. I'm going to need you to come back down on the floor for the next exercise. So let's roll back down again, including that pelvic tilt in the sad dog position. Good. From where you are, if you get to the edge of the mat that is closer to me, closer to your TV, computer, whatever you're watching this on, and then the hip that's further away from me, take that down to the floor. Beautiful. Now you are going to, your hand that is closer to the back end of the mat, slide down so you end up on your side. Now there's 2 ways here. Sometimes we use the front edge of the mat, sometimes the back edge. For this exercise, if you want to, you can use the edge of the mat that is now closer to your TV. You can move that way a little bit, so you can use that edge as an alignment tool. So you are about the same distance from that edge with your arm, your shoulder, your rib cage, your leg and your feet. So we get in that position on your side. So once we are in this alignment, we are ready to set up for a side kick, which is an oblique exercise, working the side of your waist. It's also a good balance exercise. If you've had a hip replacement, I'm afraid this one is not suitable for you. And whilst we're doing this, feel free to just practice a few more of those press-ups. In this position, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is, again, think about the centering, pulling that navel in, and now I'd like you to create a little gap under your lower waist. So right in here, under your lower waist, you want to create a space. It doesn't have to be huge. You can try to make it reasonably big, but you don't have to. Even if it's just enough for a ribbon to get through, that's enough. So keeping that little space there for that ribbon, imagine there's a stream of really cold water running under. You don't want to touch it, so keep that little bit of a distance there. The top shoulder doesn't fall forward, even though you can use the supporting arm in front of you, but not the whole hand, please. Just your fingertips, or even better, maybe just one finger. But this top shoulder still goes as far away from your ear as possible. And shoulder blades are still pushed down your back. If you've got a shoulder problem, it's okay to bring that bottom arm forward and roll up a towel underneath your head or put a pillow there. So just make sure that it's not painful for any of the joints. Now from here, we are now going to, with that tension in your abdomen, pulling the navel in, we think about the breathing through the rib cage, shoulder blades are down your back. You can have that supporting arm here with one or more fingers. Now we're going to load the spine. So think about your breathing. Think about that gap under your waist. Breathe in. As you breathe out, reach the top leg away. So we're not thinking about lifting it higher. We're thinking about pushing it that way as far as possible, making that leg long, making this higher waist as long as we can while shortening the bottom one, the underneath one. Holding it in this position, staying here, shoulder down, pulling that navel in. Today we'll just stay here for 5 to 10 breaths. That's all I'm asking you to do. No movement today, just holding the position. You're pushing this hip away from your rib cage, lengthening this space. Feel free to have a rest anytime you need to. Maybe today aim for about 5 breaths, and then we can build on that. When you've done 5, if you need to take a rest, take a rest. We'll do another 5. Ready? Gap under the waist, shoulder back and down. Breathe in, breathe out, reach away. Stay here for another 5 breaths. I also forgot to mention, make sure the bottom leg is straight. We don't want to bend it because then I don't have to do anything to hold my balance. So we're going to try to straighten, have it completely straight, and see if you can lose that supporting arm. Gap here, lengthening the leg as far as you can. A few more breaths. You will feel your hip working as well. And relax, well done. So it is an oblique exercise. At this level, it really works on the hip as well. Bring the hip forward, just loosen it up a little bit. Well done, good work. Now, with both knees bent, you are now going to roll onto your back. So before we do the other side, we are going to do another exercise, and This exercise is the 100, and we are going to do a modified version of the 100 today because we have to start somehow. But this used to be the very first exercise that the Joseph Pilates would get all his clients to do as a very first one. And only if you've mastered that exercise, he would then let you do anything else, but it's not the way we teach these days. So the 100 itself, today modified version. To start with, you're lying on your back, head is rested, feet are flat on the floor with your knees bent. Again, you want your feet not together, not wide, you want them about hips width apart. So if you want to bring them all the way together and then open your toes and your heels, that should bring you into about the right position. So from here, we want the shoulders in the right position as well. So we're gonna reach up towards the ceiling, push the shoulders away from your ears, and then relax the arms back down. So we've got those shoulder blades eased down your back with the shoulders away from your ears. Now we are going to set up your spine and your pelvis. So what I'd like you to do, remember that sad happy dog tilt. So let's get into the sad dog tilt. So now imagine there's a marble on your pubic bone and you want to roll it into your belly button. And now roll it back the other way. So I want you to roll this imaginary marble one way and the other a few times. So again, doing the pelvic tilt in this position is quite nice. It almost feels like a little massage for your lower back. So what happens is when we bring the pubic bone closer to your belly button in this sad dog tilt, so interior tilt here, so what happens is we imprint the lumbar spine, the lower back onto the mat. And when we tilt it the other way, we create quite a big gap under your lower back, so it arches. So it flattens, and we call it imprints in one extreme, and then it arches and creates a gap in the other. So what I would like you to do is try and find the middle position. The position in which you're not imprinting your lower back, but at the same time, the gap there is so small that you can only slide a ribbon underneath, no more. If you happen to be able to get the whole hand in there, like that, it means the gap is too big and you need to push your back down that little bit more. So once you're in the right position, you should only be able to get your fingertips there, no more. Now to maintain that position, again, we engage the center. So once again, think about either connecting those 4 points in your pelvis, or think about pulling that navel in towards the spine, and therefore tightening the belt, one or the other. So once we connect those points and once we contract those core muscles, the spine will not change the position, it will stay in the same position, and that's what we want. So from here, let's think about your breathing. So you want to breathe through the rib cage. So this is a breathing exercise at this stage. Now, you don't need to look at me. Close your eyes, focus on your body, focus on keeping that center connected, and think about breathing into the rib cage. What I'd like you to do now is put your hands on your tummy, but lift your elbows off the floor. Don't lose your neck, push the shoulders away from your ears. Take another few deep breaths. And make sure those breaths go into your rib cage and not into your stomach. So you don't want the stomach to rise up and down. You want it to stay in that still, stable position. If there was a little butterfly sitting on your stomach, you don't want to disturb it. If you are happy with the breathing into the rib cage and that the stomach's not moving, you can relax your arms again. Now we are going to move one leg, but before we do, I need you to, now you might need to engage those core muscles a little bit more, so there's no change in the shape of your spine when we do the movement. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, take your right leg up into the position where the knee is above the hip and shin parallel to the floor. We call this a tabletop position. So we now loaded the spine, so now it makes it harder to keep the spine in that working position. Stay with it. And check again if your stomach is not rising up and down, if you're still breathing into the rib cage. If you have been, this is not too difficult. If it is, stay there. If you'd like more of a challenge, next time you breathe out, make that leg a little bit longer. Not too much, just a little bit, and keep it there for another 2 or 3 breaths. Make it as long as you feel comfortable without changing the shape of your spine and without taking any movement into the abdomen. And with the next exhale, take the leg back down. Breathe in again, don't lose the contraction. As you breathe out, the other leg goes up. Into the tabletop first, knee above the hip, shin parallel to the floor. Stay with it. Make sure you haven't lost the alignment of the leg that stays down. The knee comes from the hip into the foot. You don't want the knee to collapse in or out, so nice and straight. If you want, make that top leg a little bit longer. Don't lose the shape in your spine. Make sure the gap under your back does not get any bigger. Keep the contraction here, pulling the navel in towards the spine, shoulders down. Stay here. Give me another 2 or 3 breaths. Next time you breathe out, the leg goes down. And relax. Give your back a little stretch there and a massage. Bring both knees in. Just roll in a little ball. And you can slowly just take the whole body side to side. Massages your back nicely. So this was the kind of level 1 of modified exercise, the 100. We'll be working on that, progressing a little bit further each week. But for now, this is it. So now I'm going to need you, normally in the class, I would have people just to roll to the other side, but you would be facing away from your TV or computer. So what I'm going to do now is the arm that is closer to me, to the TV, take it over your head. Both knees are bent and roll them towards the TV. Then push yourself up into the seated position. Good. Bring the legs in front of you. Shuffle a little bit to the other end of the mat, not too far. Bring the legs in. Stretch the arm out. And we get to do the other side of the side kick. So, once again, find the alignment. Going with the front edge of the mat. Your front at the moment. Again, if you struggle with the shoulder, bring the arm forward and just put a pillow or a rolled up towel or anything else under your head here to support you. But if you're happy, take the arm out here. So once again, remember that cold stream of water going underneath your waist. So you want to lift up that waist. Top shoulder down. You can have the support, just your fingertips, or maybe just only one finger. Pulling that navel in again. So we're lifting the lower waist, but we don't want to be arching back here. So we're still pulling that navel in. So we have, if you just have a little feel of your lower back here, it should feel it's just a nice tiny little arch. We're not exaggerating that arch. So we achieve it through contracting that center. Now, when you're ready, again, the bottom leg is straight as much as the top one. Gap underneath the waist, breathe in, breathe out, reach the top leg away. 5 breaths if you can. If you can work all the way to 10, feel free to do so. But it is your workout. Even if you have a rest after 2 or 3, that's absolutely fine. You can have a rest if you need to. If you want to keep going, keep going. But if you do, I'm going to do another 5 breaths now. So reaching that leg away, shortening the lower waist, lengthening the top waist. I'm going to now try to find the balance without this supporting arm for another 3 or 4 breaths. Breathe, breathe. Keep the alignment, keep reaching that top leg away. Keep the gap here. Remember that water that's running underneath, that is very cold. You don't want to touch it. Well done. Good work. And then bring the leg forward and just ease any tension that you might have created now in your hip. Well done. Good. We are going to go back on your back again. So can I have both knees bent and then roll onto your back? Well done. Good. So from here we've got 2 more exercises I need to cover. The next one is one leg circle, which is a hip mobility exercise, but at the level that we're doing it at today, is going to be working more on your core balance and stability than on the leg mobility. So the starting position is the same as it is for the 100. So again, the back is straight. You can reset the shoulders by reaching up, shoulders away from your ears, and then arms back down. Feet are about hips width apart. Knees don't collapse in or flop out, so we have them aligned with your hips and your feet. Let's do that pelvic tilt a few times. So we're doing imprint of your lower back into the mat and then arch. So again, go from one to the other. And again, find that position. We are going to call this the base position for the 100, the position we go from. So again, finding that working position of the spine where we only have tiny bit of room here under the lower back, maybe just for your fingertips or for that ribbon to slide underneath. Engaging the center, engage your powerhouse, pull the navel in, or think about connecting those 4 points in your pelvis, keeping it strong so it does not move. From here, establish the breathing through the rib cage, checking the stomach doesn't move. Once you're happy, next exhale will take your right leg up into the tabletop. Good. Double check nothing's changed in your back. We're not arching, keeping it in that nice position that we set up. Now I want you to imagine that there's a pen sticking out of your knee towards the ceiling. I'm going to ask you to start drawing a tiny little circle with that pen sticking out of your knee. Whilst you're doing this, you try to keep the other leg and therefore the pelvis completely still. So there's no movement of the left leg at all. You start with a really small circle. You can start with a circle of the size of a tennis ball, and then with each repetition make it a little bit bigger. You can breathe out as the leg is going out away from the center, and breathe in as the leg's coming back into the center. So remember, think about the left leg, it's not moving. If I was to put a glass of water on your left knee, I don't want it to spill. Don't spill it. You can make that circle as big as you feel comfortable, as long as your back doesn't start coming off the mat too far, as long as the other leg doesn't move. Just do one more. Remember which direction you're circling to. Slowly bring the leg down with control without changing the shape of your spine. Breathe in. Breathe out, take the other leg up. Let's do a few circles with this leg. Breathe in first. So we're gonna go, breathe out, take the leg out. Breathe in, coming back in. And again, start small. And you can go a little bit bigger with each repetition. Take your time. Try not to move the rest of the body. Work with your breath. Check the breathings going into the rib cage rather than into the stomach. Let's do just one more. And slowly take it down. Back to right leg. As you breathe out, lift. Think about which direction you were going to before. Now you're going the opposite way. About 5 circles. Without moving the other leg. And about one more now. Well done. Slowly with control down. Still keep the spine in check. Breathe in, breathe out. Take the other leg out. Think about which way we were going before. Now we go the other way. If you feel that you can only keep the circles tiny, otherwise the hips, the pelvis and the other leg are all over the place, that's absolutely fine. Keep them as small as you need to, so you can maintain that good form. Remember, in Pilates, it's not about quantity, it's about quality of the movement. So if we allow too much of a movement that is not wanted for the exercise, it stops being Pilates. Work with your breath. Breathing out away from the center, breathing in back to the center. About one more now. And relax. Well done. Good work. So this works your little muscles in the front of your hips as well, your hip flexors. So just stretch out the legs, just give them a little bit of a shake. Good work. Okay, last exercise but not least is the shoulder bridge, and we use it again at the beginner's level, at the fundamental level. It's aimed at the mobility of your lumbar spine, so we're going to mobilize your lower back. But later on, we will use this exercise to strengthen your hamstrings and your glutes. But for now, mainly mobility. Same starting exercise as we do for the 100, so base position for the 100. Feet hips width apart, knees in alignment with your hips. Relax those arms. Let's start with a pelvic tilt. Now this time, I'd like to breathe in first, and as you breathe out, imprint your lower back into the mat. As you breathe in, tilt your pelvis the other way so your back arches. And as you breathe out, imprint. Remember when I mentioned the marble? So every time you roll the marble from your pubic bone into the belly button, you breathe out. Breathe in, taking it back. And breathe out, imprint. Now we are not going to, every time you breathe in, we're not going to be arching the back anymore. breathing out will imprint, but as we breathe in, we just go back to that neutral position with tiny bit of an arch, just enough for the ribbon. So breathe out, imprint, strong, breathe out. Breathe in, back to that middle, to that neutral. Breathe out. And in. Continue. Now we're using the pelvic tilt to do the imprint of your lower back. But we are going to help the pelvis, and we are now going to use the rib cage to tilt at the same time to imprint it even more. So not just your pelvis that tilts, your rib cage tilts as well. So imagine as if you went to the ribs here, they are the bottom of the rib cage in the front. You want to dig them into your waist as you breathe out. And as you breathe in, come back to the neutral. Breathe out, imprint. So as you tilt your rib cage, the top of the rib cage almost wants to come up here. Next time we do this, we do the imprint tilting pelvis and the rib cage, and we lengthen the back of the neck against the mat. Breathe in, release back to the neutral. Breathe out, tilt pelvis, rib cage, lengthen the back of the neck. So we really are trying to find the length in the back of the spine. Breathe out, imprint, and lengthen the back of the neck against the mat. One more like this. Next time we do breath out, instead of just imprinting, we are going to now lift the bottom of the spine slightly off the floor. And then as you breathe in, we release and bring it back down and release the spine into neutral. Breathe out, imprint, lengthen, lift, just the bottom couple of bottom vertebrae. And then as you breathe in, back to neutral. And again. So we're finding the length and then lifting the bottom of the spine. And as you breathe in, you allow slowly to go back to center. Every time you can take a little bigger part of your spine off the floor. And as you breathe in, you let it go back down and allow the spine to come to that starting position. Breathe out, lengthen, imprint, lift. So the way you're lifting the bottom of the spine, you're not just lifting the pelvis up and down, you are peeling the spine off the floor from your tailbone to the next vertebra up, and the next one, and then back down. And with each repetition, take a little bit more vertebrae off the floor. Now we're going to change the breathing a little bit. Breathe out as you imprint and peel the spine off. Now stay here, breathe in. And as you breathe out, take the spine back down and into the neutral. Breathe in. Breathe out and peel off. At the top you breathe in. And as you breathe out, come down. So the in-breath is going to be in a preparation for the movement. And the out-breath will lead the movement. In-breath in the preparation. Out-breath with the movement. It's about finding the length in your lower back and the lumbar spine. Let's do a couple more. Keep the tension in your abdomen as you come up.
because you don't really want to be arching your back. So still keeping the tension so that in the highest position, you don't put your spine in a vulnerable position. Breathe in the preparation, check the knees don't go out, so keeping them nice and closed. Is it one more? And relax, well done. So this was your last of the main exercises today. Extend your legs out, make yourself as long as you can. Big stretch, and we'll just do just a few final stretches and releases now before you can go back to other things. So we start on your back in the position that you're already in. Extend both legs out, open up your arms out. Now take your right leg up in the air, bend the knee to about 90 degrees, and take that leg across the body, twisting your hips, taking your right bum cheek off the floor, taking the leg across. Use the opposite hand to reach out for that knee and gently take it towards the floor. At the same time, try to keep your right shoulder as close to the floor as you can and turn your head to the right. Stay here for about 2-3 nice and deep breaths. Well done. Bring the leg back to the center. Relax it on the floor. Same for the other side. Left leg up, bend the knee, take it across. Opposite hand is going to push the knee towards the floor. And you turn your head to the left. Try to keep that left shoulder again as close to the floor as you can. It's not the end of the world if it does go up a bit, but just do try to keep pushing it towards the floor. So it's a nice overall stretch when you're gonna get the stretch in your hip, in your back, coming all the way into your chest and your shoulders. So wherever the tension is, that's where you are going to feel it. And you might be able to feel it everywhere. Well done. Then bring it back to the center. Fantastic. Good. From here, we are now going to again have both knees bent. The hand that's closer to the TV, take that over. And then both knees will swing towards the TV. And you are going to push yourself up into the seated position and then on all fours. So on your hands and your knees. Find the position when the knees are under the hips and hands roughly under your shoulders. From here, we are going to push the middle of your back up and look towards the belly button. Once again, it's quite easy to round your upper back and middle back. It's finding the length in your lower back that tends to be the issue. So really try to help this stretch by tilting your pelvis into that sad dog position. Once you do that, you should feel the lower back pulling a bit more. And then look in front of you and arch your back. So now the pelvis goes to the opposite tilt. Push those shoulders away from your ears, arching your back. You can look ahead. One more time, let's push the back up. Remember that pelvic tilt. And then look in front of you and stretch. Good. Well done, good work. From here, slowly walk your hands up, come up onto your knees. We are going to bring one leg forward. We're going to stretch those hip flexors that we worked today a little bit. So from where you are going to push your hips slightly forward, bending that front knee, and then you try to again tilt your pelvis, lifting your pubic bone and pushing down the tailbone. And that should really bring a nice stretch in that hip flexor. Keep the upper body upright or even slightly leaning back with the shoulders down. then slowly bring that leg back in. We'll do the same for the other side. So again, one forward, push the hips slightly forward, then tilt your pelvis up, in the pubic bone goes up, tailbone goes down, upper body stays upright or even slightly leaning backwards with the shoulders down. Stay here for about 3 deep breaths. And then come back on all fours again. And once you're back on all fours, you tuck your toes under, breathe in. As you breathe out, take the knees off the floor, push your hips back. Slowly walk your hands in towards your feet. And then rebuild the spine, one vertebra at a time, coming back up slowly. Roll the shoulders back and breathe in. Push down and breathe out. Turn to me. Take your feet nice and wide. Breathe in and reach up. Careful about ceiling height and any lighting. Breathe out. Take the body to the side. Breathe and reach up. Breathe out to the other side. And then breathe in and reach.